Welcome back to HQ. One day until the 2024 NFL Draft. All the mock drafts, the analysis, the what-ifs, they'll be put to bed tomorrow with the 89th draft kicking off in Detroit tomorrow night. We know Caleb Williams is the long-anticipated #1 overall pick. It's been on his lock screen as his motivation, so we will expect that to happen come tomorrow. But our guys from the First Pick podcast, Rick Spielman and Ryan Wilson, gave us some player comps to maybe be thinking about as these guys hear their names called. Caleb Williams drawing comparisons to Aaron Rodgers, which could bode well, maybe longevity in terms of the skill set there. You also got Jay Daniels looking like Lamar Jackson. J.J. McCarthy, a little Jimmy G-esque. Good comparisons. We're going to keep the ball rolling, though, with the comparisons.
Have you seen that before, Brady?
No, that was the first time I saw it. I was like, J.J. McCarthy and Jimmy Garoppolo? I mean, I don't know that
Caleb
Jimmy
Williams
can run
Rodgers?
anywhere close to J.J. McCarthy. You know, the Caleb Williams ones, the Rodgers, I can see a little bit because their feet. And the way Rodgers can kind of navigate the pocket and how Caleb Williams does as well. They both have great feel for the pocket. I could see that one, but J.J. McCarthy and Jimmy Garoppolo, no chance.
We'll have to tell Ryan later in the show.
Yeah, we will send it over to those guys. Feel free to jump on that podcast. I think they're getting a little bored with not enough work to do the week of the draft year. So we're going to do some player comps. Mr. Notre Dame, we'll start with you, with a guy from your alma mater, Joe Alt there. We had the guys from Pro Football Focus on yesterday. They said he's the #5 overall player in this draft, according to them. You shake your head at that.
Yeah,
you are going with the #1 overall pick.
I would say Marvin Harrison Jr. and Joe Alt, to me, are the two best overall prospects in this draft class. Now, they're not quarterbacks, and so Caleb Williams is going to end up going ahead, Jaden Daniels, guys like that. But Joe Alt, to me, is the type of guy that's going to be a cornerstone of your offensive line. He's going to be a perennial Pro Bowl caliber player. He's a mammoth of a man. He's got the bloodlines going to it that go along with it as well. Having, you know, again, a father who played in the NFL, he's perfect for any NFL franchise that's in need of protecting their quarterback or protecting off the edge. So I've got him comped to Jake Long, because I think in a draft where you didn't have so many teams in need of quarterback and the types of quarterbacks that you've got, they actually size up somewhat close. Now, at the end of the day, you know, Jake Long went #1 overall. That's probably not where you're going to see Joe Alt go. But I think had Jake Long stayed healthy, you would have saw, again, another perennial Pro Bowl caliber type player, very similar to what Joe Alt projects to be.
Let's jump over to the defensive side of the ball here. B-Mac, going to come to you here because our CBS crew very high on this next guy, Byron Murphy out of Texas. Lee J says he's the best defensive tackle in the draft. Pete Prisco says very similar stuff too. So when you look at how he plays, who's your player comparison there for him, B-Mac?
Kenny Clark. You know, an anchor for the Green Bay Packers defense, you know, for quite some time since, you know, getting drafted from UCLA. And the thing I love about this comparison, when you look at their playing style, both guys are a low center of gravity when you talk about the power coming from their lower legs. Not to mention being able to utilize that quick first step to get off the football to be disruptive, not just in the run game, but also passing game as well. And remember when Kenny Clark came out of UCLA, an area he needed to improve in was his pass rushing ability. Of course, he's done so dramatically. I see the same things happening for Byron Murphy. He plays with a bad attitude, something that defenders need to have, especially in the trenches, and very athletic, just like Kenny Clark. You know, the thing I love about Kenny Clark, the same can be said for Byron Murphy. They're not a liability in the passing game. He is a 3-down defensive lineman, just like Kenny Clark is.
There's a lot of debate about the top edge rusher in this class. B-Mac, if I'm not mistaken, because we talked to you yesterday before you hopped on a plane, I think you're going with Jared Verse. And you claim it not because it went to Florida State, but you do have faith in him. What's your comp for Jared Verse?
Tamba Ali. Right, Tamba Ali, and the thing I love about comparing Jared Verse to Tamba Ali, their style of play, when you talk about speed to power, that is the name of the game for a lot of young edge rushers going into the National Football League. But for Jared Verse, the name of his game is power to speed, similar to what we saw with Tamba Ali coming out of Penn State, being a first-round draft player to Kansas City, having a heck of a career, you know, a 6-time Pro Bowler, a guy that will utilize power to speed and also playing with heavy hands. And Brady, you know how important it is for interior linemen, edge rushers, to have heavy hands, because that gives them the ability to move guys like Joe Alt off of their point with their heavy hands. That's who Jared Verse is.
When we talk about the Georgia Bulldogs, we're typically talking about their defensive prospects, right? We've seen so many over the last few years really make an impact already. But Brock Bowers, the tight end, Brady, expected to be the highest player drafted out of Georgia this year. What do you like about his game, and who's your player comp for him?
What I like about his game is he's a legit weapon. I think for any offense that's looking for a tight end, he's going to be a mismatch, right? You try to put a safety or linebacker on him, he's too fast, he's too good out of the cuts. You put a cornerback on him, he's too small. So he's a mismatch nightmare. You can move him around, do different things with him. You know, I kind of compared him to Dallas Clark, and I think it's in part because he's such a rare combination of size and speed at that tight end spot. So, you know, when you look at all the different things you can do, you got to go back a little bit, B-Mac. This is more back in our days of playing.
Facts.
But you see a tight end out of Iowa and Dallas Clark who, again, you put him outside, you can throw to him as a wide receiver, you can put him in the slot, you can put him in line. There's so many different things you could do, and Brock Bowers exhibits a lot of that in his game. So, you know, I don't know where he's going to go in the first round. I know he's one of the top overall prospects, but you know, we talked about earlier tight ends and just Marvin Harrison Jr. as a wide receiver. Those guys are two top prospects in my opinion. Brock Bowers would be right there too, but he's a tight end, so we don't look at him quite the same. You know, he'll go in the first round, just a matter of when.
B-Mac, let's go to your specialty. Let's talk about the cornerbacks here. Quinn Mitchell, Pete, yesterday we had him on. He's a CB1 ahead of guys like Terrion Arnold, Cooper DeJean. Who's your comp for him, and do you agree with Pete that he's the top guy at this position?
For me, I think it's 1A, 1B. You know, Mitchell or Arnold. You know, depends. It's your personal preference, and that will be the name of the game for the team. Whatever team decides to draft either guy, but you're getting a heck of a player, a CB1 in my opinion. But when you look at Mitchell and his NFL comp, I gotta go to Philly. Big play. Slay. Darius Slay is the comp for me when you talk about Quinn Mitchell. And the reason why is because their style of play. You know, when you look at Mitchell, he's a guy that plays off technique more than any other cornerback that we consider to be a first-round guy. And when you talk about playing off technique, the plant drive has to be precise, similar to what we see with Darius Slay. Playing with sound eye discipline, not just keeping your eyes on the quarterback, being able to go through your three-step read, and then get your eyes back on your wide receiver and be in the hip pocket of your wide receiver like we see with Darius Slay. Not to mention tackling. You know, Darius Slay not known to be a stout tackler, but he doesn't miss a lot of tackles. When you go to Quinn Mitchell's last year at Toledo, he only had 3 missed tackles the entire season. That's phenomenal when you talk about being consistent in the running game and getting pass catchers down. So when I look at Quinn Mitchell, super athletic, very, very fast, similar to what I look at when I watch Darius Slay play.
Nice. Giving Toledo a little bit of love here as we get ready for the draft. Last one we got here for you, Brady. We're talking running backs. And it's interesting when you think about running backs because Bijan Robinson stole the show at Texas, but he had a guy playing with him as well, Jonathan Brooks, who's just as good. I mean, you're not going very far there for your player comp. You like that comparison between those two? Yeah,
when I saw him play earlier this year, he reminded me a lot on tape of Bijan Robinson as far as the ability he has to kind of make subtle cuts but get north and south, his ability to catch the football out of the backfield. You look at him size-wise, production-wise, very similar when you compare Jonathan Brooks to Bijan Robinson. Now, I don't know that Texas utilized him quite as much as Bijan was able to over the course of his career there, but let's not forget, Brooks played as a freshman with a team that was led by Bijan Robinson at running back too, so they shared some carries there. I know we've downgraded this running back class as, hey, there's not first-round talents. To me, Jonathan Brooks is the best in this class. The only problem is he is coming off of an injury. We don't know where his rehab process is and how teams will evaluate that, but I think he's going to be a heck of a player and a heck of a pick for one of those teams out there that's looking to have a running back that can do everything you're going to ask him to do on all 3 downs.
Yay, Texas.
Amanda was giving horns. Amanda was giving horns down the entire time you were talking.
That Oklahoma is your alma mater.
We remind people that you went to Notre Dame and that B-Mac is the star of Florida State over and over again. We gotta give.
How would Danny take that?
Yeah,
I think he'd agree.
I can come behind Danny.
I think he would agree. No, B-Mac, you got the swag there. Pick Six Podcast. You can find these guys on that show. Brady, you were on yesterday. How did it go? Was it outrageous or was it successful?
We did a rapid-fire mock draft. I did it with Leger. I think I might have got the better of him because I got Olu fascinated late in that draft, Brock Bowers late in that draft. Late, that's what I'm saying. I didn't pick him. I didn't pick him earlier because I thought he was going to. Then I was like, oh, I'm going to wait for these teams to take him then.
All right, you can hear all of that on the Pick Six Podcast. Make sure to download and follow or scan the QR code if you'd like to see their lovely faces.